Is this what you think people hear when you speak English? So watch this video because in this English lesson, I'm going to explain to you more specifically. I will share 5 reasons why native and non-native speakers do not understand when you speak English and what to do. So stay with me until the end because I will also share 3 things you need to change in the way you study so that people can finally understand your English. If you don't know me very well, I am teacher Prix, and here on my channel I help students go from stuck to speaking in 6 months. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Now, reason number 1 is connected to vocabulary and a little bit of grammar, okay? The 5 reasons I'm going to share are connected to different issues in the English language. The first one is using the wrong types of words. Now, here's the interesting thing. Teachers will understand when you use the wrong type of a word. For example, when you use a noun instead of a verb, or you use an adverb instead of an adjective. Native speakers, on the other hand, will have a hard time understanding what you're trying to say, and maybe they will pause for a second and show you that something's off. Now, what could be happening to you is, instead of using a verb, you're using a noun. That is the number 1 mistake that I find in students who are speaking the English language. They got to an intermediate level and they feel that people do not understand when they are communicating, when they are speaking the language, asking questions. There are more reasons, but this is one of them, okay? Another point connected to reason number 1 is using a word that you believe means something because it looks like something you know from your language. But in reality, it's something completely different, okay? We call them false friends. And you may think that this doesn't happen to you or it never happened to you, but it does, okay? Sometimes I've talked to so many students. I have so many students in my academy that I have seen this happening again and again. Students don't even notice. They are using a word they think has a translation, but in reality, it means something completely different. So watch out for that. People may have a difficult time understanding what you're trying to say because of that. Reason number 2, it is connected to grammar. And I will explain, okay? You're using the wrong sentence order. This is by far the most confusing thing you can do in a conversation. Native speakers will get lost, especially native speakers, if you tend to confuse the position of the words when you're communicating, when you're asking a question, when you're making an affirmative sentence, when you're making a negative sentence. Even with the negation, with the don't or the not, if the negation word is in the wrong place, the listener will be confused. And this is grammar. This is entirely connected to grammar. Because one thing that you need to come to realize after watching this video, or as you watch this video, is watching a grammar lesson, which I'm pretty sure you do. Doing grammar exercises, which I'm also pretty sure many of you do, will not equal understanding how to use those lessons in real life. And this is the challenge. That's why with my students in my academy, for example, I don't give them grammar exercises. I tell them to use what they study instead of copying grammar exercises and answering questions that will not help them in real life. So what happens when you place the words in the wrong place? The comprehension becomes confusing. It takes longer for the person to understand you. That is typically what happens. And this brings a lot of anxiety and insecurity to so many of you. You all need to change the way you study, and I will talk about this at the end of this video, so stay with me until the end. With my students, as I said, they have to create examples to me so that I can give them proper feedback, proper correction. So it's important to have that, okay, when you're studying. But pay attention that just watching a grammar lesson, of course, you have to do that. You have to watch a grammar lesson. But just watching the lesson and not learning a way to use it will not help you. And if people have a difficult time understanding you, chances are you're confusing the listener by the way you organize and link your sentences. Tough, but true. Now, number 3, number 4, number 5, they begin to get into the realm of pronunciation. Tell me something, girl. Do you have a difficult time pronouncing the words in English? What are the most difficult sounds for you? I would love to know. Maybe I can make a video about that. How about that? Let me know in the comments. Now, guys, this reason number 3 is a little different, okay? Let's say you are a supervisor, or you work in a factory, you work in a company, or you're having a phone call with your manager, and they ask you a question, and you don't have much time to answer the question. You have to answer quickly. I get it. This happens to me as well. As you don't have much time to process and explain and give details and really make the sounds and pay attention, you tend to speak quickly. More quickly than usual. I'm not saying that you're extremely fast, no, but you will tend to speak a little faster, which ends up making you pronounce the words incorrectly. You end up mispronouncing the words, even the most basic ones. But, work, thing, so many basic words that you may end up mispronouncing because you're speaking too fast. Now, what happens to a native speaker when they are speaking too fast? Nothing. Let me tell you right off the bat, nothing happens to them because they are accustomed to that. If I have to speak fast in my language, I'll do it. If I'm in a rush and I need to say something really, see, I can't do that in English. But in my language, I would do a much better job. What happens to you and I? When we have to speed up the way we speak because something is happening and we need to be fast, we end up not being able to make the proper sound, the proper movement. So in an attempt to answer something quickly, we eliminate some sounds, we don't finish the movements, and as a result, the person listening to us will feel like you're saying that. What about the chip? I know, confusing, right? So that is the impression they have because you're linking in the wrong way. Your intonation goes up in the wrong way, in the wrong place, at the wrong time, or it goes down, or you're very robotic. That's another reason. So this could happen. So you need to watch out for that. Reason number 4, you don't follow a proper intonation pattern. I was getting ahead of myself in number 3, but in number 3 is the fact that you're speaking too fast and you end up mispronouncing the words, even the most basic ones, which make it difficult for the native speaker or non-native speaker to understand what you're trying to say. Reason number 4 is connected to proper intonation pattern. Some people, they speak always in this really high-pitched voice. They're always going up, always, yeah. I can't. You can't stay there all the time. You can go and then you have to come back. Some people, they stay in the high-pitched voice too much. Some people, they stay with the robotic voice. They don't open their mouth very much. They just don't signal the key words to they speak like this. I'm not saying you do that, but I'm saying that I have seen this happen. Either someone with an extremely robotic voice, not making any change in the way they speak, making pronunciation mistakes. So everything is connected in this lesson. So making all of these mistakes could impact the way a person understands you, okay? So you don't signal, you don't show the keywords. Even native speakers do that. They show you when a keyword is being used and when it's not, when there's something relevant. So you need to learn the intonation pattern. You need to learn how to use your voice, because if your voice is like too on the inside, adding your insecurity and anxiety, it'll be very difficult for people to make out the words coming out of your mouth. And these are all things you can work on, you can improve, you can practice and change, okay? So you need to pay attention to your voice and the way you put your voice out. If you're staying in this really high-pitched voice all the time, always feeling like you're asking a question. Every time you're telling me something, I feel like it's a question because of your intonation. It's constantly going up and up and up and up. Or you're never asking me a question. I don't know if you're asking a question because you're affirming. And then I'm like, okay, so what are you trying to say? So the voice communicates a lot. I'm not saying you need to have a singer's voice. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that the proper intonation pattern exists. We need to learn how to use them, going up and down, going more in a straight line. So we need these variations. Otherwise, it'll be tremendously hard for people to make out what you're saying. Now, reason number 5. Ooh, this one is really specific. And this can be different to each one of you, depends on what your challenges are. And that is connected to certain consonant and vowel sounds that may be really tricky for you. So some students may have a difficult time pronouncing the TH, the two types of TH sound. On the other hand, some other students may have trouble with the J sound or the Ch sound or the Sh sound. It depends, okay? Some students confuse the vowel sounds. They do not know how to use the schwa, for example, okay? Or other simple vowels. There are many vowel sounds. So it is tricky. And as a result, you sometimes think you're saying a word, but you're saying something completely different because you didn't master the sound. These mistakes can break a conversation, especially these really specific sounds, because they can create something entirely different that the listener is not familiar with. And this is what you need to pay attention to. Like, I cannot even comprehend what you're saying. If you make a consonant, a specific consonant mistake, a specific vowel mistake, it really breaks the conversation. And when this occurs, students feel really anxious and really insecure about their ability to communicate. And the problem is, it's not that your English is bad, it's just that you need work, you need specific strategic work tackling these specific mistakes that I'm talking about in this lesson, okay? These are things that I listen inside my program when I correct my students' work, because they have to speak English in my program. So I correct their English speaking. I know what they're saying. So when they make pronunciation mistakes, okay, so you have to work on this. You have to work on this particular sound, because this will break a conversation. Now, let's talk about the things you have to do, the things you have to change. And if I could ask for your support, share this video with a friend. Maybe, Facebook groups or WhatsApp groups where people talk about English. So perhaps you could share this lesson with them. And if I'm not asking too much, subscribe to the channel, okay? I think it's, yeah, there. Anyway, the 3 things you need to change, you need to include in your study routine is the first thing, okay? Actually, 5. Sorry, I lied. Okay, number 1, word formation. And I think that I even have some videos about word formation here on my channel, okay? So you need to go back to, this is the most basic lesson in English, in my opinion. Especially as an intermediate student, this is really basic, but it is the one mistake that students make, okay? So word formation exercises with contextualized examples. So that is number 1 thing you have to do. And when I say contextualized examples, I mean, how can I bring this word that I'm learning how to use properly into my life? How can I describe a work, a process that I constantly talk about in my company? Or how can I talk about stories that I enjoy? That's contextualized. Number 2, shadowing practice targeting intonation. Shadowing practice can be done for multiple reasons, okay? But my main suggestion for this particular lesson is to do a shadowing exercise with the sole purpose of learning how to change the tone of your voice. Change. Go low, go more neutral, go up. Show a little bit of your emotions when you're speaking, and shadowing will be a very good exercise for that. And to practice shadowing for this purpose, I recommend using short scenes from TV series with subtitles, and you will basically try to imitate as much as possible the intonation from the speaker, targeting the intonation. And keep in mind that to follow this kind of exercise, it'll be fast, it'll be challenging, and you have to open your mouth more than usual. We're not Americans, we're not British, we're not Canadian. We need to open our mouths a little bit more, okay? So that we can teach the muscles of our mouth how to make the sounds. And then with time and proper training, we don't need to exaggerate so much, okay? Now, number 3, pronunciation exercises with short words and short sentences. So first you're going to target specific words that have difficult sounds for you, and you're going to target those words. Okay, so you can create groups. Oh, groups of the ch words that I find it difficult for me to pronounce. Words that with a j sound that I find difficult, to speak. There you go, and then practice that in isolation. Then you're going to transfer that to sentences. Maybe create some short sentences using words that you find difficult, with patterns that you find difficult, consonant sounds or vowel sounds. And there you go. Do that. If people have trouble understanding what you say, you should be doing that, okay? That is something you can never, never, ever stop. The next thing you're going to do is speaking drills. This is something that I do with my students when we have our mentoring lessons live every month. I prepare some speaking under pressure exercises to test their ability to speak clearly under a limited amount of time, because this adds a lot of pressure. The clock's ticking. You have to give me a proper answer. You don't have time to think. So this adds a bit of pressure. So if you could add a similar exercise when you study, that would be extremely beneficial. And finally, proper feedback will speed up the process. When you, for example, my students in my program, they create examples, they post the examples on the platform, and I am able to give them proper feedback, correction in the examples they share, in the speaking exercises they share. So this is something you should consider. You can join my academy if you want, but there are other ways. You can, for written content, you can use Grammarly. You can post your examples on Grammarly, and Grammarly can give some corrections. It doesn't correct everything, okay? Artificial intelligence will also give you some feedback. It's not accurate, guys. It's not perfection, but at least you're trying something new. So this is something you can consider. Other than that, my dear people, make sure to share this video with someone. But other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!